TPCSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download the app.
Hey gang, welcome in. Today is Friday. It is August the 30th, and we almost made it to September, I guess, right? Big slate of games on football starting tomorrow. Big series in Major League Baseball. New teams, new matchups. Friday, usually bad lines. Webby Odds has all kinds of plays out there. So a lot to talk about today. So we'll get started here pretty quick, just because it's 6:20 or 6:15 or whatever time it is. And we've got some 6:40 games that I want to make sure we have some time to talk about. And, looking at some of these series that are going on right now, you got some pretty big series with the Dodgers playing the Diamondbacks. That's a pretty big series right now. Minnesota needs to win. The Mets have a pretty good slot right here with the Colorado. Baltimore. The Mets have the White Sox. But you got Atlanta and Philadelphia all weekend. So that's a big series, right? I mean, Philadelphia is trying to stay ahead and probably will. The Braves lineup, and they've been very competitive, but they just haven't been able to push things through to that degree. And the Phillies, they're not playing like they were, but we'll see how everything kind of progresses. Milwaukee still has a big lead. So these teams are going to start separating some, and then you're going to really know where they are in terms of what they're going to be doing. So I think next week we're going to start really hitting and looking at some of the series prices on some of this stuff. But it would have been bad to bet on the Yankees series. We talked about that series. It would have been bad to bet on the Yankees series against Washington, because you had to pay a big price, but you only pay it once. You don't have to pay it, a whole bunch of times. I'm looking at Milwaukee series. They're minus 120. You just pay that once, and then you can play. You're playing those games, and they won already earlier today. And I don't think they're favored in this game tonight, but the reality is they're good enough to win tonight. So minus 120 is a pretty good number to be betting series prices. So we're going to start looking at that. I think there's some value there. The Boston-Detroit series is a pick'em series. San Diego and Tampa Bay is a pick'em series. Well, why is that? I think San Diego is probably the better team. So we can look for some spots, and we will do that. I'm not prepared to do that today because I didn't do that research, but and I didn't make those bets. So we're going to start doing those things next week. Anyway, let's get into the first spots that I kind of think we have opportunities, and that comes with Boston and Detroit today. You kind of have to hold your nose just a little bit, but the Boston Red Sox are a better team than the Detroit Tigers are. Now the Detroit Tigers have a pretty good youth movement going on. They're hitting better than what Boston is. And theoretically, they're pitching better than what Boston is. The problem, where I see the value is think about it from a different level, right? The Red Sox today are starting Houck. Houck is the Red Sox best pitcher, and it's not even really close. He's a projected WAR guy of 4. That's where he's at. So, we talked the other day, and there's a bunch of 2s and 3s, and so he's a 4. So that's like he's a good pitcher. And they're going to face Casey Mize today, and Casey Mize, he gets hit. I don't know what else to say. He's got good stuff. He throws hard, but he's not a big strikeout guy, and he gets hit. And this is his first start off the disabled list. It's a good spot for Boston. And my number on this game is where I sort of see where the value starts. And if I can get to it, we'll talk about it. I have Boston minus 135 or so. It's actually 136, but that doesn't matter. So the number on the game, if you go back and you look at this game right now, you're 113. It was 115 earlier. It opened at 135. So isn't that a little? I think it's. I don't know what the right word is, but I think that one thing that we don't do enough, and I said it the other day in talking about football, you got to look and see what that number is, the opening number, 135 Red Sox, and now it's 113 Red Sox. So why is it 113 Red Sox? You've got to figure out what moves the number from 135 to 113. Because when a line is made, the idea is that the strength of the teams and the strength of the pitchers are already calculated. The strengths of the bullpen, it's already calculated. All of that's in there. So unless something news-related, weather-related changes that aspect, why are they 113? Well, the market doesn't like the fact that they were 135. My number says 135, 136 actually. So I think then Boston's on sale. So if Boston's on sale at 113, I'm going to play them. So I think that's how that viewpoint works. My number that I make is usually a lot closer to the opening number than it is closer to the market number. The market moves in baseball typically don't necessarily agree with the outcomes of the game and or the power ratings of each team. A lot of these guys go out there and make big bets, or they make bets and they move the number, or they're popular guys that are sharp or whatever that they, however you want to call them. And they go in there and they make their bets, and then the sports book goes, oh, this guy made this bet, I better change my number, right? Because he must know more than I do. Well, remember, there's a lot of old school guys that bet baseball. And the first thing I'm going to tell you is that they bet it the same way they did 5 years ago. And baseball is not the same game it was 5 years ago. It's certainly not the same game it was 10 years ago or 15 or 20. So you have to bet it in smaller segments. You have to capitalize on things like base runs and sabermetrics and different things that specifically will answer certain questions for you. And old school guys, they don't do that. They just look at certain metrics. They still use ERA. They use data that's year-long data, and it's I don't know how else other than to tell you that the game has evolved past those kinds of things and concepts. So if they're out there making these bets, they make stuff on sale for you, and you can capitalize. So anyway, Red Sox. I think Red Sox are valued today with Houck. And if I look at numbers, and the reason I said you got to hold your nose is because over the last 28 days, Houck hasn't pitched the greatest in the world. He just hasn't. He's got a 123 SOPS plus, 23% worse than an average pitcher. But that's by far not the worst pitcher on this list today. There's a lot of bad pitchers out there today. But 120. But over the course of the season, he's a 78. So he's 22% better than average pitcher for the whole year. But this segment of time, he's a 23% worse pitcher than an average pitcher. So what other thing is kind of interesting is, you sit here and you think, all right, well, the Detroit Tigers have been pretty good hitting. They've been scoring some runs, and they have. But you got to remember, too, they've been playing some pretty soft pitching. And over the course of the last month and a week, because I've been using a month and a week to get this data. So versus right-handed pitching, they are minus 6% to an average offense. So over that time frame, they're not that good, but over the last 7 days, they have been pretty good, right? So they've been pretty hot. Whereas the Red Sox in that same time frame against right-handed pitchers, they're 11% better than an average team. So theoretically, you have a better offense with the Red Sox and you have a better pitcher with the Red Sox. And the Red Sox are only minus 113, 112. And they probably should be more like 135. I think that's a play, right? So I think that works. Now, Mize over the course of the season is 10% worse than an average pitcher. And now he's coming off of the disabled list, so he's going to pitch tonight. And, he's going to throw hard. But I think the Red Sox will hit him. It's just a weird spot for Mize. He's certainly not Scooble, right? He's not that good. He's got stuff, like his pitcher stuff is pretty strong. But it doesn't turn into the same results. He just doesn't get them. So we'll see how that plays out. But tonight's first spot that I think we need to go to is with the Red Sox. And I don't dive into this too much. It's good to know. Like, for example, Houck's pitched a couple times against Detroit, not a lot, but a couple times. He's pitched 12 innings, but he's only allowed 6 hits in those 12 innings against the Tigers. And I don't dive into it too much because anymore the roster's changed so much that the players that were on those Tigers teams might not be the same as what's on this team. So you go back and you look at it and you go, oh, he's been really good against the Tigers. Well, he was good against those Tigers. He's not necessarily good against these Tigers. So I don't get into it too much, but it is sort of something you want to have an idea on. So, for example, Perez pitches for the Padres tonight, and he's pitched against the Tampa Bay Rays. He's pitched against them 5 times, 24 innings, gave up 34 hits. That's not very good. But at the same time, that's not very good. That was years ago. So that data is way less important than maybe Houck's, because Houck's has pitched against them more recently. So it's just stuff to kind of keep in mind as you're looking at different things. One of the things I think is a good thing to look at is how many team wins does that pitcher have against an opponent? And the reason I say that is because there's a comfort level in the stadium that maybe he's pitching at. So there's differences with what data to look at when you're looking at how to, as a pitcher, do against the team he faces. Another one to look at too is when you have division opponents playing each other. So, for example, you've got Lopez and Suarez today, Atlanta and Philadelphia. They got to pitch against each other several times. Lopez hasn't been a Brave that long, so he hasn't pitched against them that much. But Suarez pitches against the Braves all the time. But so you don't need a scope of the last. He's pitched against them. Okay, made 30 starts against the Braves. Who cares? You want to know what he's done in, say, the most recent time. So the last 5 starts, right? In the last 5 starts, he's pitched 28 innings, only gave up 20 hits. So those are things that you can look at when you're comparing pitcher performance to a team, for example. But I think Houck at minus 113. I wrote it down earlier at minus 120. So my number is 136. I saw it opening was 135, and I think that play will work. And I think it's a good play in a sense that I don't need this open. I think it's a good play in a sense that what you're looking for, this is what I want, value, and that's what we're doing. We're betting value in Major League Baseball. Detroit's the number 2 hitting offense right now. But remember, they're playing some of these teams that they can't pitch. So I get it. We'll see how Boston does. Boston's offense hasn't been that good. So you got that's kind of the deficit in this game, right? Over the course of the last 45 days, Boston's offense is better. Over the course of the last 7 days, Detroit's offense is better. But pitching-wise, you got a better pitcher in Boston. Boston's bullpen hasn't been that good, though. So what you're really banking on is the value of the Boston Red Sox and what kind of component they have versus, say, a hotter team in Detroit tonight. And I think you can go with that because Houck's a much, much better pitcher, not just a slightly bit better pitcher. That was the problem I had with trying to find a way to bet on the Brewers today. Ray has 16-6 or something like that in 22 starts. And he's facing Martinez, but Martinez is a little better pitcher. It's in Cincinnati. Milwaukee's not necessarily killing the ball on offense. So similar problem, but the difference between not betting on Milwaukee, even though they won 5-4 in extra innings, and betting on the Red Sox is Houck is a 4 projected WAR number, so he's in the top 25 pitchers of all baseball. He's a good pitcher, whereas Ray is not. Ray's a 1.5, I think was the number for Ray when I did the lines and the numbers this morning, and Martinez is like a 2.5. So you got a deficit there. So I didn't want to support Milwaukee, but I do want to support the Red Sox because you got such an advantage on the starting pitching. So let's go to the next one, and I'm trying to get the right timing on these games. So this one's going to be a little bit more pricey, and value-wise to my number is about even. But where I think you want to go here is this is going to be the Cubs. This is the Cubs against the Nationals today, and you got two teams going different directions, two pitchers going different directions, and two offenses going different directions. The Cubs are all in, like they're going bananas right now, and as they're going bananas, you got to ride that, right? When I pulled this up and looked at it, go to the Cubs. The Cubs right now, they're 18%. They're 18% better against a right-handed pitcher than an average offense. Imanaga is 75 SOPS plus in his last 28 days. So he's 25% better than an average guy against right-handed pitching. And Irvin, who I liked earlier in the season, he is really, really struggling right now. Irvin is a 148, so he's 48% worse than an average pitcher, and he's going to face the number one offense in baseball. The number one offense in baseball. The Cubs, I don't know if you guys have been paying that much attention, but the Cubs, if I can get to them, there they are. The Cubs in the last 6 games, so the last week, they've scored 63 runs. In 6 games. So they're averaging 10 runs a game. Holy smokes. 10 runs a game. And the Nationals, they've scored 20 runs in 6 games. So they're scoring 3 runs a game. And the Nationals rank 21st in offense against the first-ranked offense that you have with the Cubs. It's not. Now I get it. This number is like 145, 150. I'm good with it. My number on the game is what makes me say, okay, it's about the same. My number was 145, and the number right now that you can get Imanaga at Circus 148, bookmakers 152, so it's like 150. I don't think you're paying that much extra, but I think what you're looking at is you've got a good pitcher. He's left-handed. The Nationals against left-handed pitchers, by the way, are minus. Where are they? They're minus 3%. So they're like an average team, and they're against left-handed pitching. They're 18-21. So again, below average. And the Cubs, they like to hit righties. They're 58-51. I've seen them a lot. They don't do as well against lefties. So I like the matchup. and the Cubs are 13-7 in the last 20 games. So I think that's kind of what we're doing here is we're going to go, hey, they're hitting. They got one of their best pitchers on the mound. I don't know if Monica is better than Steele. Numbers wise, they're about the same. So and then they're going to face the Nationals, who I think aren't necessarily the best. And one of the problems that I've seen with Nationals pitchers, and it's like all of them, Parker and Gore and these guys, they have trouble at home. He's a 118 at home, so he's 18% worse than an average pitcher at home. And I like to look at it from a certain perspective too. Like if you were going to bet on Irvin, you would want to bet him on the road and during the day, because that's when he says that's when his numbers are good, right? He's an 82 during the day SOPS plus and an 88 on the road. He's a 118 at home and a 117 at night. So he's worse than an average pitcher at home and at night than he is on the road during the day. So we're going to pick on that. I think that's a good way to go. Hey, Jay Barry, welcome in. Thanks. It says fun weekend ahead, MLB and college football. Man, if I told you how many college football bets I got out right now, I know that I put some in the group there, but I keep adding, and so we'll go over some of them today. So I think Monica is good. I think you can play Monica. It's minus 150. But I think you're gonna have to get a little more comfortable with that number as you go forward. If you haven't figured it out or seen by some of these numbers, they're amazingly crazy. Let me see, where's my numbers? I have Boston as being undervalued, so I like Boston. But like I have the Yankees being way over favored, but I don't want to bet on St. Louis. So that's a different problem. I have Cleveland as being way overrated. So that's kind of a spot that you might want to take a shot at, but I don't like Pittsburgh. And then like I have Kansas City being undervalued again. I think they play competitive, but I don't want to go against Valdez right now. Holy crap. He's been great. Not only has he been great, but Lugo's been bad. So I don't want to make a bet because my numbers say you should. I want to make a bet because my numbers say you should, and then the matchup confirms it, if that makes any sense. So I'm looking at these lines and I'm going, like Minnesota today is undervalued. I really like Baltimore today. I don't know what's going on with that one. We're going to play that one tonight. And Seattle is even undervalued. But these are like minus crazy numbers. So one of the things that I think that you need to get into your head when you bet baseball, and everybody likes the parlay theory, right? And I was guys who don't know me very well. Some do, like Jeff and I go way back, and Jeff knows that October's on the way. My wife is a Halloween freak. So part of that means I have to create a Halloween display that is thousands of dollars worth of stuff. I have 3 12-foot monsters. I probably have 6 or 7 6-foot monsters. I have 3 fog machines. I have to build stuff and do all kinds of crazy stuff for this Halloween display. Anyway, we're out in the car today driving around to look at Halloween stuff. On one of the Sirius radio stations that I listened to, they were talking about Louisiana, the state of Louisiana, and they were talking about how the sports books are making money. And the host of the show, Craig Mish, was talking to, I don't remember what the other guy's name was. But anyway, he's talking about, hey, look, it's unbelievable to me that the sports books are making 50 to 60% of the profit of all of their money that comes in on parlay bets. Parlay bets. That's what they're making their money on. And the reason is because everybody and their brother wants to go spend $10 to win $300. That's the greatest thing in the world. Spend $10 to win 300. But if you are a sports book and you're making, they ran the numbers, and it's something to the neighborhood of they made $50-60 million over the month. Okay, well, 50% of that, it's $25-30 million. They're making $25-30 million because people are out here every day going, I'm going to spend this $10, $20, $50 and do all these little parlay bets. They don't work, guys. I don't know how many times I got to tell you, they don't work. The other thing that doesn't work is when you bet baseball and you're afraid of the big favorite, which I don't like to bet big favorites either, but I don't mind certain spots for certain things. Don't get yourself into the idea that big underdogs cash either, because they don't. Big favorites will cash way more than big underdogs. So think about it. If it's minus 200, where's my chart? Here we go. If it's minus 200, that means 66.7 is the probability. You only got a 33% chance you're going to win that bet on the other side, and you're not going to get a full plus 200. You're going to get a plus 180, or if you're betting at a different kind of book, you might only get plus 170. And if you're getting into the 240 range, 250 range, and you want to bet all these underdogs, you got less than a 30% chance to win. You only got a 20% chance to win, 25, somewhere. I've got all the numbers right in front of me, so I can tell you. But the reality is those bets don't win. And you're going to have to make them every single time for them to pay out. So what does that mean? That means if you only make that bet occasionally, they're going to almost lose every time you bet it. And you won't get your money back. You only get your money back when you win that bet. So if you say 225, I'm making this up. So say you go and say, I'm going to bet every single time there's a minus 225, but I'm going to bet the underdog. So I get 200 back. And you bet it every single solitary time, there's a small chance that you'll get your money back of what you've lost when you win. You could get a couple of shots where that pays out, but it's going to be rare. In the cycle of how things go and the regression to the mean and the average and all that stuff, you're generally just going to trade dollars, and you're not going to make any money. So there's a fallacy that it's a good idea to go bet all these big underdogs. Don't do that. Just like you don't go bet the big favorites. You don't want to bet the big favorites because you don't get a return on your money. But I will say this. It depends on how big your bankroll is to determine whether or not you want to bet big favorites. So there will be times when you see a money line that say, I don't know, I'm just going to say it's 220. Just make up a number. And you've handicapped the game, and you go, this is a good spot. I like it. This is good. All right, well, if you think it's good at 220 and you're showing value, like it's got to be an EV positive bet. So say it's 220. I've got one tonight. Where is it? All right. So here we go. So I have Seattle at minus 237 is my number. Now, earlier it was 190. I don't know if it's still that way. I'll double check it, but it was 190. So there's almost 200. So at that number, you're at 7% EV positive if you bet it at minus 190. Now, if you go and say, I don't think there's any way Seattle's going to lose to the Angels tonight, and they got Kirby on the mound and blah 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 blah, and you think that that's the way to go, don't bet 190 to win 100. You want to capitalize on that in a bigger way. You want to bet $1,000 to win 500. Hey, Daniel Berry Sports, what's up? Welcome in. Thanks for coming in. So my point to you is this. It depends on how big your bankroll is to how much you want to play these big favorites. Because I will tell you that guys that have big bankrolls, they bet the big favorites, and they don't lose that often. They don't lose, and sure, they're not going to win what they bet, but they don't plan on that. They plan on, look, I need to make $2,000 tonight. So they're going to go bet what they need to bet to make $2,000 on that game. So what I'm trying to get at is there are times and there are reasons and there are spots that you would play those kind of numbers. But every time I've ever seen it done, it's not the way that most people in our worlds bet, because we have not got the unlimited bankrolls that some of these guys have. If you got $50,000 in a bankroll and you can go, you need to make $2,000 and you go bet, $8,000 on this game to win 2,000. There you go. There's your 2,000, because you're going to get your 8,000 back because it's going to win, right? So that's the idea. The idea when you're betting those big favorites is don't bet them small, bet them big. Bet them as big as you can afford to bet them without losing your bankroll. Don't bet everything you have on it, because there is a chance that it'll lose, whatever that is. If it's minus 200, it's 33% chance. 1 out of 3 is going to lose. So point being is that you've got to kind of do it right and understand where that goes. So I talked to you about Baltimore Orioles, and I thought Baltimore was a great spot. So think about this. Let me pull this up for a second. So the Baltimore Orioles, they are projected on my stuff to win 92 games. That's their power rating, 92 games. The Yankees are 92 games. My system is within percentage points of the same team in terms of won-loss value. So they're getting ready to play the Colorado Rockies. The Rockies are the lowest ranked team I have in the National League. And I know that the Marlins actually are probably a little bit below them, but the way my stuff works, and I use base runs, right? So if you have Fangraphs and Baseball Prospectus, it's going to tell me that Miami's going to win 61 games, and it tells me that Colorado's going to win 60. And then Colorado, because of the luck involved in how they score runs and the sequencing of scoring runs, they've won games they shouldn't have, and they should be ranked at 58 wins. And then Miami is 1 game unlucky. They should have won 60, should win 62, not 61. So they rank below them. The only team that is worse than Colorado is the White Sox in my rankings. So Colorado is the worst National League team, and in my rankings, they're playing the 2 teams that are tied for the American League best. So this should be a big spread, not a little spread. This should be a big number. So you're at 359 winning percentage for Colorado, 567 for Baltimore, 200 percentage points higher. That makes a big margin already. And then you have Austin Gomber on the mound. His WAR number is 1. Projected WAR is 1. Suarez, who's pitching for Baltimore, he's not like an ace or anything. He's kind of an also-ran pitcher, but he's not bad. He's a almost 2. He's like a 1.9, 1.8. So he's almost double the pitcher Gomber is. So now you have a pitcher advantage on the mound. You have a much better team, and the line should be huge. My number in the game is huge. Baltimore. I have Baltimore minus 230 on the road. 230. You can bet Baltimore minus 133 today. I'm all in, man. I'm all in. Baltimore all in. And I get it. Baltimore hasn't been hitting. Baltimore's not been scoring runs. Baltimore's also played the Dodgers. So give me them with the idea that they're going to get a little softer pitching. They're going to be in a better spot. They're going to be able to hit some of this stuff. And when I looked at one of the other interesting components of this, you sit there and you go, oh, Suarez, man, he's not the greatest thing in the world. You realize he's pitched in his last 23 innings, only give up 17 hits. His SOPS plus is a 52 in his last 28 days. In the last month, he's 48% better than an average pitcher. Holy shit, 48% better than an average pitcher. In the Rockies. The Rockies are just a team. They're 37-56 against right-handed pitching. Gomber, even though he's pitched better, is still 7% worse than an average pitcher. He's 17% for the season worse than an average pitcher. He's 21% worse than an average pitcher at home. And I get it. It's Colorado or whatever. So I think that, you're just in one of those spots here where you're almost forced to go and say, what is going on with this number? And I get it. I saw today, I'm trying to look at what the opening number was in that game. Baltimore. So here we go again. My number was 232. The opening number was 165. And here the market says it should be 130, 132, 133. What the hell? The only news that would have adjusted that number is Adley Rutschman, and that came out real late. He's not playing tonight. But that's okay. They got guys that can hit. And Adley Rutschman hasn't been, the big hitter that he was earlier in the season anyway. So I think when you're looking at this and you're kind of going, this makes very little sense, and you're getting Baltimore on sale. So I think you buy Baltimore. We talked about that. You buy Boston on sale. You buy Baltimore on sale, and you play the Chicago Cubs, and then holy shit, there's your 3 plays for the night, right? Because where I saw some of these other things that are interesting, I want to try to be careful. I don't. So, for example, I don't think there's any value in getting involved in that Atlanta Phillies series game today. Suarez hasn't pitched a lot since he's been off the IL. Lopez, this is only his 3rd start since he's been off the IL, and he's pitched good both times. So he's kind of due for a bad spot here. But the number 135, 136 really is about where it's supposed to be, right? I mean, that's where it should be for Philadelphia. So I didn't like that. This Milwaukee-Cincinnati game, Cincinnati's calling up a highly touted pitcher and Louder, and Milwaukee's throwing one of the throw-in guys they got. I shouldn't say throw-in. DL Hall's a pretty good pitcher, but he hasn't pitched very good. So then they're underdogs tonight against the Reds. So, again, I sit there and go, I don't want to get involved in that because I don't really have a good feel for those pitchers. I did like Imanaga. That was fine. Here's another one, Kershaw, and Kershaw's pitching tonight against Gallen. That line opened 130. It's still about that number, 130. My number on that game was I have the Dodgers minus 108, not 130. And here's a couple things. Kershaw hasn't built up to be, only pitched 6 times. And by the way, when the Dodgers are 3-3 in those starts. So, and I get it. He's been really good against the Arizona and all that stuff. And the Dodgers have always beaten Arizona and all that. I get all that. And Gallen hasn't been great this season. But where's the value in the play? If you think the number should be like 110 and it's 130, there's value. There isn't. The value is on the Diamondback side. But I can't bet the Diamondback side. Diamondbacks, I think Gallen can get a hit. I think Kershaw can pitch pretty good. I think the Dodgers could win this game. But on the other side of that, I think Kershaw could get hit, and I think the Diamondbacks could win this game. So I don't have an edge. So you just kind of leave it go, and you go, well, I don't really have value there, and you try to find where you have spots. Like the Mets, right? Anytime you're playing the White Sox, you've got an edge because it's the White Sox. So, you got to look at it. So I looked at it and I go, oh, it's McGill. McGill hasn't pitched in a long time. And in the games he did pitch, where is he? Because he's got great stuff. He throws really hard. McGill, he's made 9 starts for the Mets. 9. So I won twice. 2-7. Well, maybe, I'm just making this up, maybe this is the spot where the White Sox can win a game. Kannon, who's pitching for the White Sox, he's 4-11 in his 15 starts for them, but he's pitched pretty decent at home for them. His SOPS plus at home is 100, so he's even. He's an average pitcher at home. Certainly the Mets can hit average pitching, but right now the Mets aren't hitting. The only one hitting is Lindor. So I just pass on that and look for something else. You're going to start seeing a lot of call-up pitchers. You have Al DeGarry for the Angels is pitching today, making his debut. There was another one too. Where is he? Louder was the other one. So I think that you run into some of these spots where, Valdez has been really good for Houston over the last, say, month, and Lugo has been bad, but not terrible for Kansas City. But is it at 160? Isn't that the number? My number, where is it? So it was listed at 170 at one time. My numbers are minus 115. So that's why I said I think Kansas City is being undervalued here. Now, having said that, when you go handicap out the game and you look at where these pitchers are, and you go and say, hey, Valdez made his last 5 starts, pitched 33 innings, so that's pretty good. He's averaging over six innings per start. He's only given up in 33 innings 19 hits. 19. That's a strong number. I'm pretty sure that's the best on the board today, and he's 15-8 in 23 starts, and he wasn't that. He's been on a roll. He is a SOPS plus 16. You can't bet against that, but I can't go out and bet on it either because it's not the right spot. It's not the right line. It's the wrong team that he's facing, and Lugo hasn't been nearly that good. So Lugo is only 15-12. He's kind of average. A little above average, but I just don't think it's the right spot to be supporting the Astros in such a big number. There's no value there. So as I kind of transition out of this, I only have a couple of spots for you tonight. Houck for the Red Sox, I thought was a good deal. Suarez for with Baltimore, and I think Imaniga for the Cubs. I think those are pretty good spots. Now, getting into football, right? So some of this stuff, the one thing I think that differentiates this week, especially in college football, and it'll be that way for NFL football too, but a little less impactful. College football numbers have been out for a long time, so you're all looking at line moves and trying to figure out what numbers I should bet and what numbers I shouldn't bet. But here's what I'm going to say. I've made quite a few college football bets, and I'm very careful with where the line is and what value I'm getting. Like key numbers are extremely important. Where's my list? So, for example, here we go. This is a better list. So I was looking for a lot of different spots here. And, we'll just use UCLA, for example. UCLA is minus 14. But what I wanted to say is that number wasn't 14. Earlier in the year, when it kind of opened up and came out and was being released and stuff, that number was like 17.5, 18. And then what happened was head coach goes out and has his Big Ten day, media day, and flubbed all that up. So people are going, boy, this team's not going to be any good, and blah blah blah, because He can't, he's not a polished coach. So then the numbers started coming in on Hawaii. So then it came into the point where that number got down to 14. Got down below that. I bet it at 13.5, to be honest. So at some point, you go and say, where's the value? Well, it was Hawaii plus 17.5, plus 18. I get that. Well, UCLA is a better program, better quality athletes, better kids than Hawaii is. So if you can get it at 13.5, I think, and that's going to be the bottom number that you pay, I think that's where you go. So what I'm trying to tell you is that right now, the way college football works is a lot of these numbers. I don't want to call them stale because you're still got to try to bet numbers, and you're trying to bet these games. So another one, right? Penn State versus West Virginia. I get it. There's a lot of people that wanted West Virginia. That number, where's my number for that game? So a couple of days ago, the number was 8. Prior to that, it was like 10. You could get West Virginia plus 10 points or so, maybe 11. It says 11. So you could have got them plus 11 at the very beginning. Well, here's what I'm going to say. Penn State's players are better than West Virginia's players. So where does the number go to where you go and say the value of 11, getting 11, ends, and there's going to be a new value for the other team, and at what number? My opinion is it's right around a touchdown. I did bet Penn State today minus 7.5. I got 7.5 and I bet it. And I'm like, I don't think it's going to hit 7, so I bet 7.5. And I was also trying to get ahead of, the alumni and all the other, big Penn State people coming in to bet it tomorrow. So anyway, the point being is I think when you're starting to do some of this stuff, you got to look at it from those perspectives as to key numbers are extremely important. But next week, right, we don't have all summer where all these numbers have been reflected and moved and you're kind of getting the bottom of the barrel numbers right now. So sometimes the numbers matter, sometimes they don't, that depending upon what you were doing with Minnesota and North Carolina yesterday. You could have bet Minnesota at plus 2.5. You could have got them. You could have at the beginning. You could have bet them as a favorite, right? So depending upon where that turned out for you, and that's why sometimes when you're handicapping these games, two things come into play. Is you look at it and you go, I think it's going to be a pretty toss-up type game. I want to play the underdog, though. So then everybody plays the underdog and it flips to the favorite. But then you as a bettor sit there and go, well, flip to the favorite. That means there's steam on the favorite, and that means all this other stuff. I need to play the favorite. Doesn't mean that. It just means that at some point there's going to be a spot where you need to go buy back the other way. I wanted to buy Clemson at 14, never made it. Got up to 13. I think at one time it even made 13.5. I never saw it at 14 when I'm ready to bet it. And now, when I looked at it just earlier, not earlier, but where is my football? Dun, 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 dun. College football. Let's go there. College football. I think that it was down to 11 or something crazy. People are all in on Clemson right now. Where is it? Beep, beep, beep. There it is. So it's 12 at most places now. It's 12. So if you think, so here's the thinking behind a lot of stuff, right? There's some suspensions and some stuff happened in Georgia. There's a running back that's hurt for Georgia. So there's some news that has impacted that number. So, you want to figure out where you fit into that, and you want to figure out is Georgia still 2 touchdowns better than Clemson in that scenario? My opinion is they're not. So as you're doing these things and you're going, did you see the number on USC, by the way, with LSU? If I go down to that number, let's go to that number. So that number opened 6, and now it's 4 at most places. And nobody's talking about USC. So, that's kind of an interesting spot. It's an interesting thing to see, LSU being 6-point favorites, and now USC now is only 4, they're only 4-point favorites. So that means, money's coming in on USC. I agree with that. But what if it gets to 3.5? What if it gets to 3? Are you still liking USC? It depends on where, it depends on just how everything kind of flows and kind of how it goes. So my bets that I've made, where's my list of bets so far for college football? I got so many notes sitting around here. Okay, so I talked about this one, Pittsburgh and Kent State. I got it over 54.5. I think it's 55.5 right now. The idea there is Kent State's offense is a little better than what it used to be, and Pittsburgh is going to be good too on offense. I did take Florida Atlantic. I know they played tonight. The number I think right now in that game is way different than what I played it. Where is it at? Florida Atlantic. 13-12 is the number. I got them at 14.5 earlier. I played Texas A&M, but I played Texas A&M on the money line at minus 145. I think it was still right around 145, 150, somewhere in that neighborhood. I played Stanford. Now, I played Stanford at plus 10, and I know the number was like 8 or 9 earlier today. And then one of the things that I did, when I went back and kind of looked at things, I don't like Florida State. They made me mad. And I bet Florida State the first week, and I lost that bet. But I just bet Florida State again. I think that when there's an overreaction sometimes, and sometimes it's the right reaction, but I think there's an overreaction sometimes. A lot of people thought Florida State's a top 10, top 12 type team in the country. I didn't see it. I thought Georgia Tech ran on them. And then because they ran on them, they were able to throw on them. And then I wasn't impressed with DJ Uiagalelei. Whatever. Wasn't impressed with him either. So I think there's going to be some adjustments that they make. And I think Boston College is a much weaker team. And I got it at 16.5. So if you can get it under 17, I think you're good. So I think you see that. I bet Syracuse. When I bet them, there was 17. I think it's like 18, 19 now. But, that's kind of why it's hard for me to spread this stuff out. I bet Troy at minus 8.5. And I think that's another one of those spots where Nevada that they play is being overvalued because of what they did in week 0. So I bet that one. I bet UCLA. I told you I got them at 13.5 instead of the 14. So and I told you I bet Penn State. So I've got I don't know. Was that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I got 12, 13 college football bets. And baseball bets. So it just kind of goes that way. So anyway, guys, we'll keep talking about some of this stuff. We'll handicap. I didn't handicap these games as much this week, and I didn't on purpose for the college football. And the reason I didn't do it is because I think they've been over handicapped and blown up. And right now, what you're doing is you're trying to bottom feed, pick the number that you can best bet. So I don't think there's a lot of handicapping involved now. I think that you're just trying to bet good numbers. Next week we'll probably get into more of the handicapping of those games and matchups and where those things kind of match up. So let's have a good night tonight. Let's do some let's hopefully knock down some baseball bets. I saw where did I see? I saw we were kind of in a good spot and a bad spot there. Go back to today's games. I think we were ahead in the Boston game and we were behind in the Washington game. So we'll see how all that sort of plays out as the night continues to go. All right. Well, have a good night. And what is today? Today's Friday. So tomorrow's noon. Now kickoffs come on before noon. So I gotta figure this out. I'm not gonna really talk probably college football tomorrow. So we'll probably just do baseball games. We'll see how that works. Maybe I'll do like 11:30, 11 o'clock, so that we can get some of that stuff in. So anyway, we'll see how that plays out. So if you're looking for a Saturday show, probably be around 11 in the morning. Anyway, let's have a good night, and I will thank everybody for coming, and I will see you tomorrow.